Hi, everyone. This is Angie, and it's just me today. Beckie is taking the day off. And the reason is what you're about to see is video footage of a very personal conversation between me and Beckie prior to doing one of our videos early on when we first started doing the podcast. Generally, before we start a podcast, we have a little bit of conversation, make sure that our settings are correct. And for some reason that day, I broke down. I had a really emotional breakdown. And as we were talking and as it was going, just starting to ramp up, Beckie or I, one of us, but I agreed, said, we should record this. And so I hit record. I have been sitting on this footage since I think February of 2023. It is now October, and I am now ready to share it. So here's why I'm sharing this today, and here's why I hope you will watch it. This is not all about me, about sharing this ugly cry moment, if you want to call it that. It's not about me, and I hope you'll understand what I mean when I tell you this. This story that you're going to hear is about my experience with brain damage and things that people don't know or don't see, or the things that I don't normally share. And the reason I am sharing this today and putting this out into the world is because I know that I am not alone. I know that I'm not alone in the experiences that I have, whether it's with brain damage or if it's a chronic health condition or something like that. I know that so many of us, more of us than not, struggle silently. We hide, we mask, we do all kinds of things. We just don't share them publicly. And having said that, a lot of us don't know how to react, or we don't think about what someone may be going through. And in my case, I still hide a lot. I mask a lot of some of the things that I have to work through, or I get to work through. The reason I'm going to ask you to watch this all the way through, you don't have to do it in one sitting, because I think could be 45 minutes. And with this intro, it's probably, I don't know, it's long. It is long, but here's what I request. My request is that you watch the full thing, because I share things in here that you may be able to relate to, or maybe someone you know you may look at things a little differently. You might have a different perspective. Maybe it can open up a conversation, a dialogue with a friend or a family member and say, hey, I saw this video, this girl named Angie shared her story, and have you ever experienced anything like this? Or even, hey, there's this girl named Angie and she's experiencing something very similar to you. The reason I'm sharing this is because I want it to serve others. This is difficult for me to share, and this intro is difficult for me to not go into that cry, because it is raw, and I'm very vulnerable in this. And this is not a place that I would normally step into under my free will, but it is truly authentic and real, and it's a conversation between two friends where I really just shared what I was going through. Now, I don't go through this, and I'll explain it in the video. I don't have moments like this that often. Over time, I've made progress. Over time, I've learned how to handle my own emotions a little bit better. And I also have learned that it's okay to go into cry when I need to. You'll see more in the video. Please, 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 I ask. Watch as much as you can. Know that I cut out a lot of the crying moments, a lot of the sobbing moments. I cut out a lot of the really long breaks, because there were times it took me a little bit of time to get my thoughts together or to be able to say the words. And so there are obvious cuts and clips in this. And I also left in moments of the crying, the real emotion. Not because I want pity, not because I want anything other than for you to feel the real emotion that I was going through, for the sole purpose of, if you have felt the same way, know that you are not alone. And if someone you know is suffering, they may be doing it silently and you're not seeing these moments. And I encourage you to reach out to the people that you know who may need to hear from you. They may need to hear some words of encouragement. They need grace. And I'll leave it at that, okay? So again, I appreciate you. I love you. And I hope that this serves and it comes across as from the place that I intended it to, which is to make a difference in the world, okay? So with that, here goes. Bye. My makeup's getting messed up. I am hard on myself because it's hard.
What's hard?
Oh, everything. Things are so much harder than they used to be. And even though it's been so long, 5.5 years, I remember and I know that things should come quicker. I have to work harder and longer. I get overwhelmed faster and I don't multitask like I used to. And I recognize it and I know it and I feel it. And maybe that's the fear and failure, is that I can't. Damn it. You said a little bit ago that I'm courageous. Mm-hmm. I know that. I do know that. It takes a lot of courage to do what I'm doing. It's taken a lot of courage every step. And I give myself grace. I do give myself grace.
Do you?
More than you know.
Okay.
I'm really good at hiding a lot of my struggles. I know how generally to hide the difficulties that I have. So yeah, I give myself grace, or I wouldn't be on the other side of this camera right now. I wouldn't be sitting where I'm sitting right now. I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't put myself out here. I wouldn't be vulnerable. I know that I'm better than I was. I've gotten better, but I think I've peaked. Sorry, I need to dry my
Angie,
eyes.
your peak, let's be real. Your peak is higher than most people's normal.
Who said
status
I was
quo?
Normal.
For those of you watching this, Angie goes above and beyond to make sure that her brain is in top condition. She does brain exercises on the regular. Like when you told me what kind of things that you do, like puzzles, and you're doing a Rubik's Cube. You learned how to do a Rubik's Cube at 55 years old. Who does that? Who does that? No, thank you. No, thank you. And I hear that I hear you saying that you aren't the person you were before you had the brain injury. I hear that. And you know more than anybody. So I'm not in your shoes. From the outside looking in, I see a extremely intelligent, courageous, brave, and smart woman who puts herself out there. In the last 5 years, you've had 5.5 now, you've put yourself out there more authentically and vulnerably than you ever have. That takes courage. What if all of this happened so that you could be who you are right now? And the way you are right now is amazing.
And thank you for that. I do appreciate it, and it doesn't go unnoticed, trust me. And the reason I have put myself out here more than I did before, truly and authentically and genuinely, is because I did realize that what happened to me didn't happen to me for no reason. And meaning what happened, and then I lived when I wasn't supposed to, or even be in the capacity that I am now. And I want to make sure that I do share with people that you can overcome, because the whole thing, that is real, genuine, and authentic. That doesn't mean that I don't. That I don't have moments where it's so freaking hard. It's so hard. And I know that the best way I can explain it is like having all the puzzle pieces and you can see that they fit, and I can't get them to fit. I know that I'm smart. Here's part of the when something like this happens to a person, brain injury, systemic brain injury, the entire brain, there's a lot of testing that goes with that. And I am still high functioning. Thank God. Thank God. And as I said before, it's humbling to go from super high functioning to function, high functioning. And that sounds maybe, I don't care what it sounds like. I don't care what it sounds like. I'm high functioning and I was much more high functioning. I don't care where you're at on the spectrum of life. If you lose some, it's a loss. It's a loss. I wish I couldn't tell the difference. I wish I couldn't see it. And I do. So there's times when it just really gets to me. It frustrates me.
You have a saying, and I know I'm not going to get it right, and I got back up. What is the saying?
I got up anyway.
I got up anyway. What does that mean to you?
Not just this in my life, but so many things that I've experienced. I never let it keep me down. And this most recent with the carbon monoxide poisoning was the epitome of getting back up and going. And even if it was literally I couldn't walk in the beginning. They brought us home in wheelchairs and I got up and I walked a little bit. I took a few steps and then I took a few more, and over time I could walk farther. But the main thing was every day I got up. There are so many days, and even, in the figuratively way, there are periods in life when you just want to give up. I know I've been there, and I got up anyway. Every day I did something. I can't remember not doing something to better my situation, better myself, my life for my daughter, whatever that took.
Earlier, I heard you say it's a loss. Whenever you have a loss, it's hard. On the flip side of that, what are the gifts that you see from having this experience? There's always a gift in something. What are the gifts that you've seen and noticed?
Gift of compassion, gift of grace, not just for me, but it starts with me, truly. A lot of it is compassion for others and what other people are going through. We never know what other people are going through because they could be hiding it. And trust me, I don't walk around sad. I'm not like this all the time, just occasionally.
So this is what's coming up for me, and I'm going to try to ask it as best as I can because it's in my head, and I'm going to try to formulate it into a question.
Okay.
So those that have been around you for a long, long time and have known you before the carbon monoxide poisoning had expectations of you or saw you in a certain way and knew that you would show up a certain way. And now that you that is different, doesn't mean you're showing up differently. It just means it's changed. How have expectations from those around you changed? Or how do you feel that they've changed?
Snotting everywhere. I'm harder on myself. I get that. I don't think people expect anything more from me than what I'm doing. It's me that expects more from me. The most humbling experience I have had throughout this whole thing is that I didn't know how bad I was at the beginning. And I mean, when I say bad, I'm just using that as a general term of I didn't know that I wasn't functioning properly, that things weren't connecting in my brain. I had problems and I couldn't see it. All I was focused on was getting back in there, getting back to who I was, getting back to work. My leadership team called me in and said, "You gotta go home. It's gotta be the hardest thing they ever did." And loving, because they wanted to protect me. Okay. Our customers, employees. Maybe I've never gotten over the lack of, I couldn't just go back to the way things were. There's a lot of control issues in my life, if you haven't noticed. It's something beyond my control. I don't think people expect anything more from me than I probably am doing more than most people would expect. A lot of people, especially professionals, medical professionals. I get to go through another neuropsychological eval coming up. Those are a lot of fun. But I get to see progress, see what progress I've made. And yeah, I do every day. I do something that is some kind of brain puzzle, something. It's like I work out my brain every day. If I worked out my body as much as I work out my brain, holy cow. Oh, you guys. Yeah. So, and I have triggers. I have things that just set me off. I realize how much I don't complete sentences. And so for those that don't know, I've been doing the editing of the videos, and I see how often I don't finish a sentence or I can't put the words together. And that doesn't mean I'm going to stop editing. Each time gives me an opportunity to say, okay. But it also gives me an opportunity to see what I could also work on. If I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know what to work on. Does that make sense?
And like, how many other areas of our lives would that apply to? If we don't know, we don't know. You can't do anything about it. And then once you do know, you can choose whether you want to do something about it or not.
True.
Yeah.
That's
I
true.
get off on tangents, and then I'm like, I don't even know what we were talking about. And I humbly ask, hey, what was that question? Because I forgot.
Yes, you do. If I have a feeling that
And I don't have a brain injury.
Like I said, the only way I can explain it is knowing that like if I didn't know that things were not connecting, well, okay, I'm seeing it in the videos, so I'm much more aware of it. But then I'm noticing it in conversations because I notice the video, the recordings. So I'm noticing it in conversations. I'm like, oh, there it is again. And so I am actively working on completing full sentences without going in 14 different directions. But when you know that you're doing something, well, that's just an example of not finishing sentence, but I know that there's things that I do and I'm like, there it is again, or I can't figure it out. I can't find the word, but it's like, it's right in front of me and I know that's right in front of me and I can't quite reach it. And so I find other words to use instead. And that's one of the ways that I mask the difficulties I have. A lot of people don't catch it. But if I can't find a word, I'll just rephrase the entire thing, which then means I've changed the sentence, which means I didn't complete the first sentence. It's a thing.
And I mean, there's no way to know, but how do you know that that's from the brain injury and not just like the fact that like an ADD thing? Like, okay, squirrel, getting sidetracked. How do you
How do I know?
Yeah.
Because I went to bed one night and didn't have that problem. And then I did. There's so much more. I can't go into everything. I really can't, honestly, because of reasons beyond my control. But there's a change. There's a change. It takes me longer which it's getting better. thank God. But it was at a point where just getting stuff together to work on a project, I was done. Like, I can't do the project now because my brain was so fried from just getting it together to do the project. Like say, doing medical bills or, even bills or whatever, sorting things out to do something. And then it's just like, now I'm done. I can't finish this. Now, what I find myself doing is trying to push through. Things take me much longer. That's the frustrating thing, is how long it takes me to do some things that shouldn't take so long, and shouldn't take so long in comparison to what it was like for me before. And that's not just me, that's feedback from those close to me.
I heard you use the word grace earlier. If
Mm-hmm.
you were to give yourself grace, what does that look like, giving yourself grace?
Telling myself I'm doing the best I can. Don't be so hard on yourself. I'm doing more than was ever expected for me to be doing ever again in my life. I do also think, how would I treat someone else that was going through what I'm going through? What would I say to them? And I try and say that to myself. I literally do that.
Like what? Like what?
Like,
Well,
like what I just said, you're doing the best you can. Don't be so hard on yourself. Give yourself a break. You'll get to it. You'll figure it out, or you'll figure a way around it. I tell myself things like, maybe this is not what you're supposed to be doing. Maybe this isn't right now is not what you're supposed to be doing. Whatever, I'm working on something and it's frustrating. And I get that people get frustrated. We all get frustrated. We all get overwhelmed. But for me, it was like, if this is the scale, I can't see, if this is the scale of, took me from here to here to get overwhelmed, meaning shut down, brain is not, like, everything's not connecting. It's getting to where maybe I'm better. And I think what's setting in for me is it's never going to get back to where it was. And I'm still doing far more. I do know, Beckie. I do know I do a lot more than most people. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean it's not frustrating. It's like, we use the analogy a lot about, if you have to know where you are to know where you're going, right? Or to get to where you're going, whatever that is. See, things like that bug me.
it's the GPS.
Mm-hmm. That saying, I know where I want to go. And sometimes it is the most ass backwards way about getting there. And I feel like it's frustrating. I get there most of the time, I think. Oh my God.
Angie, my experience of you right now is vulnerable and humble and honest. And from my seat, I think you're amazing and doing really, really well. Resourceful. You created a whole business out of your Poshmark clothing resale business. Like, you turned something that you enjoy into a business, and you didn't even realize it. Like, that's something you created all on your own. There are, looking from my seat, looking in, I see you getting better and better. And
That's good.
and that better and better comes from within, not outside.
What do you mean by that?
It's not something that you're creating out here, like the picture, the veneer that we talked about last time.
Veneer, yeah.
It's more like you're shining on the inside, and that shining is coming out on the outside, instead of that veneer that's just on the outside that looks good.
It's funny that the whole Poshmark and selling clothes thing was just started as a challenge, because it, again, was one of those things that I wanted to do to keep my brain and me going. That's part of it. And it was a challenge. Literally, it was an online challenge with Chalene Johnson. And I just never stopped.
You kept getting up.
Well, yeah, I just kept getting up and doing a little bit more and figuring this out and figuring out this, and in every area it has been a challenge. And those are the humbling moments for me. Like I ran P&L and L and books and all the financials and all the HR and all the stuff for a multi-million-dollar business. And still to this day, it's a struggle for me to do a simple spreadsheet. That is like humbling. And I try and I try. And there's some things I'm like, nah, it's not worth it. I don't need to do a spreadsheet that bad. Here's the thing that I have to always remind myself. One of the things I tell myself is that I'm still alive. What else really truly matters? When I later found out I wasn't expected to make it, and if I did, they expected me to not have a decent quality of life or some words like that. And I'm glad they didn't tell me that. I'm glad they didn't tell me that while I was still in the hospital. I don't know though, with the way I am, I don't know that my fundamental stubbornness, determination, I don't think that that was affected. And I got up anyway. And yeah, I got up anyway is a big deal to me because in the beginning, Beckie, I could only make it to my front yard. And I would lay in the front yard. And of course, my neighbors were not like a community that like knows everybody. And so I'd go to my front yard and lay in the grass with my macro lens on my camera. And I'd take macro photos of the little itty bitty tiny little yellow flowers that are in our grass that most people don't see. And the neighbors would drive by and I could just see them like, it's July and August, hotter than hell in Texas. And she's laying in the grass. She's a nutcase. But that's what I could do. And then I went a little farther, and that's just how it is. I think maybe I'm at a point where I'm just like, is this it? Even if this is it, I'm great. I get it. I'm doing better than most and far more than ever expected from what I've been through. But there's still a loss. There's still a gap. And I don't think that gap I'm supposed to. I don't think I'm supposed to forget that there's that gap. Why? Because there was an Angie and there's this Angie. I don't know. I don't fixate on it. It just occasionally comes up for me that this is not the way it was before.
This Angie, to quote you, this Angie, what is better about this Angie than there was before?
I'm less pretentious by far.
I would agree with that.
I love by far. I'm not as concerned about what everybody else thinks. And yet I am in a different way. I don't care about what people think as far as materialism and what I'm doing, like selling clothes and all that stuff. I don't care about that stuff. I care what people think about the changes in me. But what's better about me is I really am more easygoing. Things don't bother me as much. Like people don't bother me as much. I have very little judgment of others. I'm much more accepting of other people and people in my life that know how to, they know my triggers. I don't care. I watch things, in my life, and I see things that people expect I'm going to react a certain way, and it's not apathy. It's more like it just doesn't need my energy. Well, that's part of it too, is that I know I have my attention span and my energy level are I have to watch those. It's kind of like having that, like I know that I have a battery meter, whatever. So I've learned where I put my energy matters more than it did before. I'd get myself worked up. I'd take on the fights. I'd get in there in the fray, and that stuff doesn't matter to me anymore.
And so when did you start photography? What was that, before or after? Because it was about the time your dad was having his surgery, right?
My dad was having his surgery, and
Was that before the carbon monoxide poisoning or
it
after?
was May of the same year, and the poisoning happened in July.
That's right. Okay. Okay. So I'm picturing you on your lawn taking
Mm-hmm.
pictures of the little yellow flowers and taking time to appreciate the beauty. Pre
Oh my gosh, the
poisoning,
stories.
were you taking the time to do that?
I didn't have the time. Uh, I didn't have the time to do it, so that was a gift. But well, the reason I started doing the photography while my dad was in the hospital is because I was there at the hospital, and there was so much time that I was just walking around the hospital or outside or just free time. So I started doing iPhone photography. I took a course. If anybody ever sees that sponsored ad that comes up for iPhone photography by, like, his name is Emil something, I don't know, take it. I cannot recommend it enough. If you're at all interested in photography and you have an iPhone, versus some people, now if you have a good phone, that I would highly recommend that, because sometimes I even feel like my iPhone takes better pictures than my Sony. Anyway, I started doing that course just for something to do. Um, then I switched to a real camera around the time of the poisoning. And what I know for sure, some of the changes you talk about, there was a time Jake and I went to, where were we? We might have been, oh my gosh, we were traveling somewhere. We were in some national park, state park somewhere. See? Anyway, we were there, and we took this hike, or this, path, basically, very well-known path. And I see this tiny little mushroom, and I laid down on the path in the pine needles. It's kind of damp, and when a mushroom's growing, it's damp. And I am laying on this path, and people were literally walking over me on this path, not even looking. Like, why is this woman laying on the ground? And what is she taking pictures as? I would look. Would you not look?
Yeah, of
Like, I would look.
course.
Well, what
Curious.
we figured out, we started watching, then the people, they're checking it off. Okay, we did that trail. Yep, we did that trail. We got that picture in front of that. We did that Instagram. We started realizing that's where people were focused in their heads. That's what they were doing. And so I have been that person as well. So that is a shift in me. And if I want to spend an hour taking a picture of a mushroom, it's a really neat mushroom, by the way. So
Oh, I'd love to see that picture.
I'll show it to you. But
Angie
anyway,
takes amazing pictures. I have the orange poppy one in my living room. It's
yeah, I love to see
beautiful.
that sometimes when I see your TikTok
Uh-huh.
and then your love right behind you. I love seeing that.
Yes, Angie did that for me too.
I am
Yeah.
more creative than I was before.
And that was always in you. You've always been creative. You just look different. And so how has it been nurturing that creative side in you?
Uh, freeing, I guess, is the best word that comes to me. It brings me peace. Why does a person cry? Because you know that every part of your brain controls, different parts. Everything in your brain's controlled, whatever. Emotions are controlled by parts of your brain. And that's one of the areas that was the most affected is my emotions. I have severe PTSD. So there's things that trigger just thoughts. Okay, peace. Peace. Here's the thing. I love to work. I told you that the other night on the phone. I love to work. I love to produce things. I love to have an idea and see it through. So as much as I love art or I love photography, I love that feeling of getting lost in it and just being in it. When I work, it's not as freeing. I don't think there's a lot of people in this world that are like, well, what's your dilemma about you can't work as hard as you can? But I love to work. And when I say work, I mean like business and creating businesses and growing something. One of the things that I have is a hypersensitivity. I don't know, there's some word for it, that I hear every sound everywhere. So when you go into a restaurant or you're wherever, you're having a conversation with someone, I can hear the people in the kitchen. I can hear the people sitting next to us just as well as I can hear us having a conversation. So for me to focus on our conversation, it takes much more diligent effort to block out everything else. I can hear it all, and it's all at the same, and it's overwhelming. And I sound like I'm having this massive pity party for someone who's doing so phenomenal.
I know I'm hearing why you can't do it. I'd like to hear why you can.
Here's the grace. I've come a long way. I wouldn't have been able to do what I'm doing now, meaning the Poshmark, it's Poshmark and eBay and, reselling business, doing the live shows, doing this podcast, working on other projects. I could not have done that even a year ago because of the effort I put in every day to get myself better. But I have no time for anything else. So, because I am working a lot, it takes a lot longer to get everything done. So the question is, well, why are you doing all of that? Because I asked myself, well, then if this is too much, what are you going to let go? I don't want to let anything go. So I get to figure it out. And I don't do things half-assed. So it's got to be done right.
That is true. That is 100% true. You do not do things half-assed. You go full ass, always.
Always. It's not in me to just be like, oh, that's good enough.
Well, you get to take pictures in your world for your Poshmark business. You take pictures of the clothes and
I take
Daisy.
really good pictures.
Really good pictures.
I do. I do. I know my Poshmark closet looks like a catalog.
And your grandkids, you take great pictures of them too.
I take
And
great pictures.
congratulations on your granddaughters for school. That
Oh
was
my
so
God, wasn't that
exciting.
so cute?
Yes, so
So
cute.
cute. Yeah. Yeah. Those are my video editing skills. You like how I slowed it down to get that goal.
Yeah.
So cute. Proud of her. Thank you. I'm just glad I was there.
Yeah.
For real.
Mm-hmm. Gratitude.
Tomorrow I won't cry. I'll be good for days.
So you cry and then you're good for days?
Oh, it's more than days. That was more of as I've heard it called, a throwaway.
Okay.
um, I just go through phases. I go through phases of frustration. I don't wish what I have experienced on anyone. Trust me, I don't. And I have a lot of empathy for people who have gone through things similar or anything that they're struggling with. And then there's another part of me that, I wish it could be understood. I wish people, and I used to try and come up with analogies like, okay, brushing your teeth. That's easy. Everyone knows how to brush their teeth. There's no thought that goes into brushing your teeth. I hope not most people. But what if one day you woke up, you walked into the bathroom, and you see this? Okay, that's a toothbrush. I know that's a toothbrush. I know that I'm supposed to grab that toothbrush and, there's toothpaste. Okay, that's supposed to go in here. And it's just not coming together. Like, that toothpaste over there and that toothbrush over there, they go together. And then you're supposed to do this thing with your teeth, but you can't quite do it. Something you've done every day since you were hopefully you've done it every day at least once. Your life. and then you can't. Now, that's not my whole life. I get that. It's not my whole life. My whole life is not like that. But when I do face those times, I know that I'm looking at the toothbrush and the toothpaste and I can't figure out how to get them together, or the words together, or the thought together. And that's the only way I can explain it. And still wouldn't make sense to anyone.
I think it. I think you kind of get the idea of like just how we do things by rote, and then suddenly, like, wait, I really need to think about this.
You know that when there's like some brain, I mean, I know a lot of brain things to do for the brain, but they talk about how if you're right-handed, go through the day, a whole day left-handed,
Yeah.
try and do everything with your left hand. That's kind of how I would say it. Like, think about it. Everything was easy. If you're right-handed, everything is easier with your right hand. Now, all of a sudden you have just your left hand. It's awkward. It doesn't fit. It's not right. It's just different. And it's harder. It's going to take longer. And then there's grace. Okay, it's because I'm trying to do everything with my left hand today. But then most people get to get their right hand back again, and they can use their right hand when that little experiment's over. And I don't feel sorry for myself. I want to make sure I don't feel sorry for myself. I don't. I'm grateful. I don't feel sorry for myself. I just am frustrated.
I don't sense that you're feeling sorry for yourself at all. Maybe there are times when you have a pity party and no one's around and no one knows that. Um, I'm a fan of a good pity party. I think we've talked about this before. Invite all your friends, misery, negativity, victim, invite them all and just sit there and talk about how sucky it all is. Get it out. You can set a timer if you want, 5 minutes, whatever. I've done that before. And before I know it, the party's over and the timer hasn't even gone off yet. It's when you're in resistance of like, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there. I think it's harder. Like, just get it out. It's in there. Get it out. Let it out.
I agree with that. I don't always know it's going to come up. Today was not the plan for me to get on the beginning of our call and start crying. I just had a moment, and this is where we're at. It's not always known. It's not, I don't realize it's building. Most of the time I don't realize it. Most of the time it's just, ta-da.
Well, it's like that pass the salt moment. That old saying, like the husband and wife are holding things in and they're really angry with each other. And he says, pass the salt. That's what breaks the camel's back. And he just lays into her. It's that pass the salt moment. Like, you've probably tolerated, that's the word I'm using. It's not your word, tolerated the differences, tolerated I couldn't get the word there. And pretty soon it just builds and it's like, oh, I'm breaking. What word do you use?
What word?
Breaking. The word I would use. I'm breaking. I'm breaking down, or I'm having a breakdown. What word would you use to describe it?
I had the word just a second ago. I was thinking it's building.
Yeah, you said building. Mm-hmm.
I feel it building, and then I think I just give into it. Like I said, if I just when now I can't control it, so there's no giving in. I would require me to have some control to release the control. When I break down, when I just cry, when it all comes out, when it comes out in a cry, like this kind of cry, it's cleansing. I feel like it's like my soul releasing all of the pain. And then I'll be okay. Until I'm not. We all do that, though. That's not unique to me. I don't think. I think most of us, we're okay until we're not. It's the point of what we do then. That's my saying of I got back up anyway. I have every reason in the world that I could stay in bed or could have stayed in bed and didn't have done nothing with my life. And it would have been okay. I mean, nobody would have judged. Nobody would have said, I mean, no, I could have.
And that's not who you are.
No, no. Do you
I,
think, though,
I,
that there's times where I'm like, God, I should have just stayed down?
I heard you say that you know, have an occasional breakdown, and you're not unique to that, and that most people do that. You know, when you and I had a conversation on the phone about 2 weeks ago or so, and I told you that I'm scared, and I started crying. I mean, like really crying, like that really cleansing, as you called it, cry. And after we got off the phone, I was like, I don't remember the last time I cried. I bet had been years. It'd been a
You're not
long
a
time.
crier. I was shocked.
I I don't let that out. And I don't think that's healthy at all. I don't think it's healthy to hold it in. I think that's what I do. So for you releasing this and the cleansing cry, oh, I'm kind of envious right now, feeling like, yeah, you're getting it out. Like you said, then you'll get it out and then you'll move on. Like, what a great gift and a tool that is for you.
It is. I do acknowledge that. I know, even in the moment of this, I know that, okay, once this is over, I'm going to be fine again. I'm going to be fine. I'll be fine. I told you that we've talked about this, that when the poisoning happened, I felt like up to the poisoning, I felt like, and I believe so I'm going to use the word God for me. I feel like God was like, hello, little things that happened along the way, many catastrophes, those things that are like you think your world's shattering, but you get it together anyway and you keep going and, it doesn't matter. And you're stoic because stoic's my thing. Until the poisoning happened. And then I felt like, okay, I wasn't listening all along. And I'm telling you this, Beckie, because it reminded me of you saying you don't cry and you're not a crier and you're holding it in. I felt like I had lots of opportunities along the way to see, hear, acknowledge that I wasn't on the right path and I wasn't paying attention until, as I say, I hit the brick wall. I hit a wall 100 miles an hour and just shattered. And 5.5 years has been putting the pieces back together. It's not crying and snotting now is not very attractive. But no, I'll cry. I cry. I cry way more than I used to. I can't help it. It's not like I can help it. So there's that.
Yeah, that's good. I would love to hear from our listeners in the comments. How do you, what's your cycle? I'll call it a cycle. Like how Angie said, all it builds and then I release and then move on. I guess I stuff. So like in the comments, share what your process is. I would really like to hear what that is like for you and how other people
Yeah. How
go
they
through that.
cope. I'm going to say cope.
Yeah.
What is that
Yeah.
coping for? Like, why do you stuff?
I I just realized that I stuff. You know, an episode or two ago, I mentioned that I started tapping more lately, and some stuff came up, and I didn't realize how much stuffing that I done. That is how I cope. Evidently, I thought that I was going through things and not and then processing them. I realized recently in our last podcast that we did, not just that, but through the tapping thing, that I might not process things fully, and I half-ass it. You know, I don't full-ass process. Evidently, I half-ass it, which I do a lot in my life. So half-ass processing does not result in crying or letting it go. It's like in my right butt cheek or something. It's in there. So It'll come out. And then I'll have a lopsided butt
Well,
and
what does
then
it
I'll
feel
get
like though when it comes out for you?
it's
What is the story you tell yourself?
that is a great question because I was just going to say there's a lot of judgment. There's this judgment of, well, if you're so evolved, why are you stuffing still at this age? Why am I? There's a lot of judgment around it because this is a new thing for me. I really believed that I was processing. And now to have this awareness that I wasn't processing and stuffing. So now there's this, okay. And something happened recently. I was like, okay, I'm starting afresh now. This situation, I get to process it all the way through to where I've now let it go. So I'm, I'm using new tools and it's kind of exciting. But then there's that, that all or nothing thing. Well, I get to do it all the way, which I know is a choice. So yeah, welcome to life at 55. It's fun.
Oh, and 56 and
Uh,
54 and 34, right? I mean, the whole journey, it's always has some special gift
Yeah,
along the way.
yeah. So for this, speaking of gifts, Angie, so for this, where you are right now in this moment, um, what's a gift that you would like to give to our viewers?
Always remember that life is truly a gift. Every day is a gift and every hour is a gift. And every moment that you put your energy towards something that doesn't serve you, like this serves me right now. This crying serves me. It's where what I'm supposed to be doing because I know I'll be fine after. Whatever that is, remember that things are going to happen. Things will happen to us. We get to choose what to do with that, whether it's what somebody's done to you or what's happened to you, what's out of your control. Maybe you did it. Maybe something that you did. Maybe you have responsibility in it. We kind of have responsibility in everything that happens. And forgive yourself, forgive the situation, forgive others, and keep trying. And gratitude. Even when I get just to places like this, or frustration sets in, or loss and grief and all that stuff, if I didn't have gratitude, this would have broke me. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here right now crying in front of God knows how many people are going to watch this. Maybe Beckie, only 2 people will watch. What do you think?
Maybe.
um, grateful. Look for the mushrooms. Look for those little tiny. I challenge. Let's start with you, Beckie. I challenge you to look for the little tiny things in life that you are overlooking every day. How many people step over things just to get to the check that off their list? Enjoy the moments.
Enjoy the moments, gratitude, and notice the little mushrooms.
Yes, those little mushrooms are pretty awesome.
Angie, I want to thank you and honor you for being so vulnerable and honest and real, because this is real talk, and living up to that name in an authentic way.
Thank you.
Getting to see this side of you, I believe, is a gift. It shows that your daily struggles, you shared them with us, and because what we see is the strong, courageous woman who's got it all taken care of. I I will even say, call myself out. I see you as having it all together. And it's typically the strong women that get overlooked because we think she doesn't need any help. She's got it all figured out. And it's oftentimes those strongest women that we get to go, wait a minute. Maybe she does need some help. Even if it's just, hey, I'm thinking about you. I'm thinking about you.
I can't stress that enough, is that we really truly don't know what people are going through. So when you think somebody's being a certain way, or a way that you find you don't like the way that person's being, you don't know what they're going through. You never know. And that's grace. And that's grace, but it starts with yourself. And I have to say, finding a way to make a difference, finding a way to contribute and make a difference in the world, that brings me a lot of joy. The reason I do a lot of the things that I do, especially like with the shows and the coaching that I'm doing for new show hosts and things, I do those because I thoroughly enjoy it, because I'm giving back and I'm helping others. When I'm helping others, that's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm doing the podcast and the YouTube. It's truly to help others. That's all.
That's all.
That's all.
That's all. And anyone watching this, Angie's a phenomenal coach. I,
Oh,
I,
I'm not always blubbering.
you, when we have our talks and you ask the questions you ask, I'm like, God, that was a really good question. I want to like make a note of it. Like, I want to write that. I want to ask that question when I'm coaching. You really come from a place of no agenda, and you don't ask leading questions. You truly ask curious questions that help the client move forward. I call myself the client. Help them move forward. You come from a place of love and compassion.
That's my agenda. That's my whole agenda.
That's not an agenda.
No, it's truly to help others, just to help others grow, do better. That's all. And I know, yeah, in the world we live in today, I feel like there's a lot of skepticism around that. Like, what's the hidden agenda? There really isn't. There really isn't. But I am in a different space in life than most, and I want to be able to take that gift and share it with others.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Becky. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. This
Thank
has
you,
been a great
everyone.
show.
Will be a
Yes.
different show next time.